this might just be the most versatile guitar I've ever come across. Hi, hello! Today we're going to be looking at this guitar here, the Emerald Virtuo, a very interesting and unique guitar which offers something that I don't think anything else on the market does. Now this guitar is on loan to me from Emerald. It is going back after the video is done. I'm not receiving any product from them for me to keep. I'm not being paid. I can say whatever I want, and I'm going to. In this video we're going to be covering the specs of this instrument, the positives, the negatives, and just my overall thoughts about this very unique guitar. And before we get into it, apologies for the change in scenery. There's some construction happening where we usually shoot the videos, so this is what we've got just for this video. Heavy machinery and talking don't go hand in hand. Now if you haven't seen one of these before, I'm sure your first question would be, what is it? Well, this is an Emerald Virtuo. Emerald Guitars are an Irish guitar company that make guitars exclusively out of carbon fibre. I recently did a factory tour video there, and you can see that video linked up at the top of your screen. It's also in the description. But not only do Emerald make guitars exclusively from carbon fibre, they also nearly exclusively just make acoustic instruments. That's their specialty. They've been doing that for about 25 years. So this isn't fully an acoustic, but it still is an acoustic. This is the Virtuo model, and its tagline is acoustic body, hence the acoustic body, but electric soul, because this is a very strange mixture between acoustic and electric guitar that I'd like to explore a little bit with you. So let's run over the specs first. This guitar is entirely carbon fibre. The body and neck are seamless. They're all one piece of carbon fibre, very structurally sound, and it doesn't move. That's the benefit of being an incredibly rigid material. Even the fretboard is carbon fibre, and again I would point you to have a look at the factory tour where they talk a little bit more in depth about that. Now the difference with this guitar is it's got this veneer. This is a piece of olive ash. Now I say it's a piece, but it's a veneer. It's an incredibly paper thin piece of wood that's overlaid on the top of the carbon fibre body, and it's purely there for aesthetic reasons. There's no structural benefit and there's no tonal benefit. The bridge comes from a solid block of carbon fibre that they mill down on the CNC and polish, so that's all carbon fibre too. You've got Graphtec ghost saddles on this bridge, which means that there's piezo, but we'll get to that in a little bit. You've got the Graphtec nut, and you've got the Goto tuners. Now let's get to the elephant in the room. What would this guitar be classed as? An acoustic, an electric? Well, I'm not really sure what you would class it as, because, well, first and foremost, it is an acoustic guitar. You can play acoustically. It's an acoustic guitar, and you have the classic Emerald cutaway here that allows you to self-monitor, as well as you can hear it out front as well. Now let's just view this as an acoustic guitar for a minute. If we do that, we'll see that, well, it's quite thin, but it's still, you know, sizably loud for... That's an acoustic guitar's standard volume as far as I can tell. It's not as maybe bassy as you would expect from a more jumbo body, but overall you're not losing volume there. But like many acoustic guitars, this has a piezo system. Now piezos often, at least in the electric guitar world, often misconstrued. People think that if you put a piezo system on a Les Paul, for example, it'll sound like an acoustic. That's not correct, really. A piezo is going to get the acoustics of the string. So if you put a string on a solid body instrument, you're going to be amplifying playing an electric guitar acoustically, which doesn't sound the same as an acoustic guitar. It can sound kind of close, but it's no comparison when you compare it to an acoustic guitar. So the piezo on this genuinely sounds like an acoustic guitar because it is an acoustic guitar. And that's really good. It's very nice. So on the control layout here, you'll see that we've got this mini toggle, this three-way mini toggle here. If we point it up here, we're just using the piezo system, and that's this volume and this tone on the piezo. And that's not just the only setting though. You also have a push-pull on the volume for the piezo that gives it an alternative sound. But this guitar isn't just an acoustic guitar. If you were looking for an acoustic guitar, there's plenty to choose from. Why would you get this? Well, it's because all the rest. You'll see here that this guitar has two Fishman Fluence humbuckers. Now, Fishman Fluences on their own are incredibly versatile. They have two voice settings. They've got the classic and the higher modern pickup settings, and that's selectable through this push-pull here. You've also got coil tap, so you can split the coils. In fact, with just these pickups alone in an electric guitar with these switching options, the options make a demo very difficult to do because there are so many switching options. So let's just take this bridge humbucker for a second and I'll try and explain just how many options you've got. So right now you've got a modern humbucker. Now you've got a more classic humbucker. That's two. We've also got the push-pull for the coil tap. So modern single coil, classic single coil. That's four options in one pickup, but we've got two. Now we've got 8 options. Then you add the middle selection for both pickups and you've got another 4 options. With just these pickups alone, you've got 12 different tonal varieties, and that's just the electric pickups on the electric guitar side of things. And obviously I'm not going to show you every different variety because there are a lot. We haven't got to even more yet, but this as an acoustic guitar, it doesn't feel or play or sound like an acoustic guitar. You can do heavy stuff with this. But we're still not done on switching options. Remember that piezo system I talked about? Well, you've got this mini toggle. If you switch it into the middle, you can blend in your piezo pickup with your electric pickup, allowing for a monumental amount of switching options. I think it's over 36, I think I calculated. I'm not great with mathematics, but I'm pretty sure it's over 36 different varieties, and that's excluding varying degrees of rolling in your piezo, messing with your tone knobs, messing with the volume knobs. Versatility is the main goal of this guitar, and with that in mind, it 100% succeeds because I still haven't talked about one of the features. So this is your jack here. This is actually a stereo jack, so if you wanted to, you could get a Y cable, and let's say you had 2 amps, or you had a modeler and an amp, or in fact, let's just say you had your electric guitar amp and you wanted to send your acoustic piezo to the front of house desk while you were gigging. Well, you can send a splitter cable out from this one jack. One cable goes into your amp for the electric pickups, and one cable goes out to the front of house, and you can control what goes through with your volume on the piezo and with the electric. Very, very versatile, but I'm still not done. This guitar also comes with a 13-pin Midi. Now this is more of an extra feature. It adds, yet again, another layer of versatility, and a huge amount at that. You can control through, let's say, a Roland SY1000 or some of the Boss GP10s maybe. It's the stuff that you can control MIDI synthesizers with the guitar. So you could play maracas by doing that. You can really add a lot. And that can be overused, it can be a bit gimmicky, but musically you can actually do a lot. If you just needed a piano line, instead of having a piano player in your band, you could do the opening intro with the synth, with your 13-pin MIDI cable, and then straight in to guitar playing. It unlocks a lot of features, and that's why this guitar, I think, is just the perfect studio guitar, because it covers a multitude of guitars. It is an acoustic guitar, it is an electric guitar, it is a MIDI controller if you want it to be. Playability wise, it does take a minute just to adjust coming from predominantly playing electric guitars, because you're feeling, what is this? And it's hard to tell because it's a mixture between an electric and an acoustic. The frets are stainless steel, but they are very thin. That's unusual on a lot of electric guitars these days. Most are very wide, very jumbo frets. These are not. So these ones here, they're quite thin, but the fretwork is very well done. The only real giveaway to me that this isn't an electric guitar, the only giveaway would be when you're bending a note and trying to hold it and sustain it. It doesn't sustain for as long. It's very hard to keep that note sustaining, even with pretty high gain. Realistically, that's the only trade-off. If you were a predominantly acoustic player who wanted an electric but kind of didn't, perfect guitar. Or also, if you're an electric player who wants an acoustic but also kind of doesn't, this is also the perfect guitar. It's a strange mix in both worlds. And that makes me think that not only is it perfect for session players and studio players, if you had a studio, this eliminates the need for 4 or 5 guitars into one, but also it's perfect for session players, be it in studio settings or live. You can do a lot, almost everything, with the one guitar. The benefits of the carbon fibre build mean that not only is it incredibly strong, as demonstrated in the factory tour when Alistair stood on the neck after it was a day old, just come out of the resin mold, but also it doesn't change with humidity or levels of heat and temperature changes. So you can tour with this and gig with this, and it doesn't really care where you've brought it, which is a big point about the carbon fibre. That's a big plus, especially when it comes to being acoustic, where the woods are thinner. They're more likely to have a problem with temperature change. Now, if you're viewing this as an electric guitar, which I don't blame you if you do, because it's pretty convincing, it's incredibly light. This has to be the lightest electric guitar ever made, because there's nothing inside it. So it weighs nothing. Now we should probably talk about some of the negatives to it, and there really aren't a lot. The first is probably the biggest that most people have an issue with, and that is these are not cheap guitars. They're not very budget friendly. It's very much a premium purchase. These are expensive. And that was my initial view as well, from just knowing that Emerald existed. But after the factory tour, it dawned on me, oh yeah, well, that explains it, because there are no corners cut. Like, the whole place is super high tech. Everything is perfect. So I do understand where the money is going. And also, you can slim down on the price considerably by excluding certain cosmetics, such as the veneer that we talked about earlier. That's just solely for visual effect. So forgoing that and just having the carbon fiber finish on the front, which does, like, the carbon fiber is cool, you can go for that, and it is cheaper. Also, you can exclude the inlays, even though I really do love these inlays. These are the Celtic knot inlays, and I'm a big fan of those, but you can forego those. I think they even have like much more intricate inlays as well as options, and again, the guitar is cheaper. Now, that still doesn't mean that it's going to be really, really cheap. It's not. These are very much premium priced instruments, but they are premium instruments, so it tallies, it makes sense. And I've looked over this guitar in great detail. I've had this for a couple of weeks to write this review, and I can't really find anything to fault it. The only other option that it's kind of more of a hypothetical negative is if you had something against the Fishman Fluence pickups. That's what these come as with standard, and that's their switching capabilities. I'm sure you could order it custom with a different set of pickups, but as standard it comes with these. But that's just a hypothetical if you had something against them. This is the first time I've used Fishman Fluences, and I'm impressed. I think they sound pretty good, and I really do like the whole huge amount of switching options. That's something that Fishman have that not very many other pickups do have. Overall, I'm thoroughly impressed with this. Like, it's completely different, and I get that it certainly wouldn't be everybody's cup of tea. Like this, it doesn't look like a metal guitar per se. In saying that, like, you can 100% play metal on it if you want to. And like in the intro jam that I put together, like, this guitar did all those sounds. It went from crystal clear acoustic to super heavy stuff and shred stuff as well. Like, it does it all. It doesn't pretend to do it all. It does do it all. And that is very impressive. I'm a big fan of that. And if you were thinking of slimming down a collection or building a collection that was just a few choice pieces, that everything did its job and still covered a lot of ground, I don't think you'd be going wrong with one of these, because it certainly covers a lot of ground. It does a lot. So that was my review on the Emerald Virtuo. Truly a versatile guitar that nothing really matches in terms of versatility. I'm gonna have to pack it up now and say goodbye to it, but it was a pleasure playing this. But if you think it's interesting, you can check out the factory tour. I do recommend watching that. That one was really fun to make and very interesting. It's 40 minutes long. You can also check out the interview I did with Alistair Hay, the owner and founder of Emerald, how he started up Emerald and ended up building Steve Vai guitar. And yeah, you can subscribe if you'd like to see more videos just in general. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye!